Ladies and gentlemen, what a smooth jazz weekend we got going on here at Lanes Raceway. I'm enjoying it. I hope you are. I know you got a lot of smooth jazz in the previous race. Thank you for the comments letting me know that the audio was out. Thank you for the telephone calls letting me know that the audio was out on the Ohio Valley Dirt Late Model Series. We're fixing to get underway with the Fairview IT Cup Series for all your computer needs. Call Fairview IT Management. But as you can see, all 8 racers ready to go. We're going to move on into the better, bigger view of the oval. And I'm going to make a small announcement, and we're ready to rock. All right, racers, watch your lights. And here we go. You know the drill. 4 red lights drop out to a green. We're going green racing. And I'll tell you what, folks, if you haven't checked out the Ohio Valley Super Late Model Series last heat or last race, you got to go check it out, folks, because I'm telling you right now, it was full of drama. Starting at the very beginning, I had to fail my first guy in tech. That was Nathaniel Burden. Failed him because he just could not pass tech. His height was not high enough. He had to buy a set of tires. Puts those tires on, he gets out there, and he's obliterating people right out of the gate. I think he ended up getting as high as like 30 or 40 laps ahead of people. Guillermo S's car came alive there towards the last 4 heats, and he was giving a run for his money for Nathaniel. So much so that we were receiving calls, and some of the racers were questioning how he was going so fast. So I stopped the race, went out there, grabbed his car, checked his gear ratio, checked his motor, checked everything there. Everything checked out, folks. Then he gets back in, and it was a knockout, drag-out, Duke of all ages to the final lap. Nathaniel Burden and him ending up on the same lap, and it was very, very close. Not to mention that Guillermo even retired that motor, as he even thought it was a little bit too quick. So I don't know, folks. Stay tuned. It keeps getting crazier and crazier here at Lanes Raceway. Right now, Jackson Darty in the lead with 2 laps on black. Guillermo Sire there on green with 2 laps. Glenn Burden with 2. Carson with 2. Jay with 2. Nathaniel with 1. Garrett with 1. Now, this is the final race for the 4 crowns tonight. So this is our blue crown, as we call it. The blue jewel crown. Let's see if we can make this bigger. You can kind of see the different colors in the crowns. If you want to follow along the series, definitely check out YouTube under the series section, and you can select what series you best like. As you can see here right now, Dirt Late Model Series from Ohio Valley Lawn Care is green. That's our green crown. Our purple crown is IndyCar Pro Series. The Wing Car Series is our red crown, and our blue crown is what we're racing right now. That's the Fairview IT Management Cup Series here at Lanes Raceway. 3 cars piled up at the end. This race always spells disaster. It is not for the faint of heart, as this race, a lot of the guys swap up gear ratios. It's one of only 2 of our series that are open class series. And I'll tell you what, it is pure debacle out here, ladies and gentlemen. 90% of the time. Guys mess with gear ratios, make their cars faster on the straight stretches. Some of them mess with them, make them faster through the corner. Either way you look at it, these cars are so fast, it really doesn't matter about the gear ratio. It just matters whether or not you can hear cars slam at the back of Dead Man's Corner and you stay out of the mess. Because I've seen guide flags cut in 2 in this series. I've seen guide flag wires cut in 2. I've seen tires go flying. I've seen cars go as far as the pinball machines flying. So, you know, you never know what to expect in this series. You know, I've seen Jay Latham and Gabriel Kirtley duke it out in this series before, beating and banging all the way to the end. You know, now Paul Woosley, he's back in the mix. He's got his Flying Rooster car out here, orange and pink there on White Lane. Glenn Burden rolling hard. Him, Randy Kirtley, rolling the high side there. Dragon body, Bobby Pierce style. It's just full-fledged excitement, full-fledged fun. These cars, as you can tell, are so fast, they're hard to even keep track of. We got a couple newcomers here in the race. Guillermo Sire, exasperated as he laughs. Good thing we started a little early here, as it's 1 minute and 45 seconds into the heat. And I'll tell you what, it's only been 15 seconds, and we've already had several wrecks here. There's several people going back to the front of the line. it's literally left up to the imagination who could even win such a debacle of a race. But we're going to hang in there and see who ends up bringing this baby home on the fast travel here at Lanes Raceway. 5 cars sitting back, only 2 cars away from a full J. But I'll tell you what, we are rocking 8 cars deep here tonight. And this is another one of those races that keeps you on your toes for sure. Three more cars there in the end of Dead Man's Corner, as we have several people jive bombing in just a little too deep with one another. These cars here, you definitely have to give leeway to one another if you want to make it through a single heat. Only 4 seconds have passed since the last time we've seen a wreck. Will there be a body left alive here? That's the question currently right now. With so many wrecks already, is there going to be a body left for anybody? Jackson Darty, after last race, questioning how Guillermo S's car was so fast. Well, he just took his car over there and he asked Guillermo. So Guillermo got his car here. As you can see, he's leading the race right now. He got his car set up and freed up. Now running a best lap time of a 1.496, one of the faster ones here. Now, of course, you can always expect good, fast NASCARs out of Jay Latham, as he's a force to be reckoned with in our very first Fairview IT Cup Series over a year ago. We can see a stalled car there. The Moose car of Nathaniel Burton stalled there on the backstretch. Interesting to see. One moment here. I got some customers. All right, we see Garrett there. He's laughing. He's cutting up. He's having a good time. I don't know what's going on here, folks, but I'm back. Nonetheless, 1 minute and 35 seconds. We got 3 people on the lead lap. Jackson, Jay, and Guillermo. And Jay Latham turning currently the fastest lap time of a 1.489 here at Lanes Raceway. Do not know what's going on here currently. I see something in Nathaniel Burton's hands here, but I don't know what's going on. Head over here to the main screen. I need to make sure that our chat's up and going. We did get someone to comment, but it didn't show up earlier, so I don't know what the deal is with that. Maybe it's only, oh, there we go. So Slot Car Misfits of all scales says cool. So I don't know how long ago that was. I'm having trouble here with my Corsair mouse. Looks like 6:58. Okay. So it wasn't too long ago, a couple minutes ago. So they're coming in at least. We've been having trouble with our messages coming in off of Facebook and off of Twitch. Of course, we live stream on all 3. Going to stay here for a moment as we go back live racing. Jay Latham, your current leader now. Right behind him, though, Guillermo S took a second place in our previous series. And, man, it was pretty wild, I will say. I'm still thinking about it. I can't wait to get home and actually rewatch it, even though I commentated half of the race without the microphone working. For those that don't know what took place, essentially I've had a USB throughout the week. We use the same computer, as you can see in the upper left-hand portion of your screen, to run our iRacing. And anyways, I have to move that stuff around sometimes, and I think I might have jostled it just a little too much, and the USB for my Alias Multimix must have got jostled just a little bit, and it messed with XSplit. And XSplit will not re-recognize a USB for some reason. So what I ended up having to do is get back into XSplit under the sound settings after receiving a call and a message that there was no sound. I ended up getting back on there and setting it as a new one. It's the same thing, but now it works. So thank goodness for that. And hopefully it continues to work. So we see Glenn Burden there on the crook of the track looking for something, looking down off a red lane. I don't know exactly what he's looking for. Probably a brush. Somebody, I mean, this, you guys know how this race is. As we head back over to the bigger view of the oval here, you know how radical this race can get. All these guys are having a great time, though. They're laughing, cutting up. We see Jackson there and Carson having a handshake. Maybe they're in agreement here to wreck some people. I don't know. It's still yet up in the air to see what's going to happen with these guys. But Jay Latham, I'm glad, and finally, after 2 races today that he's been in, suffering power plant issues, he's back in the mix, baby, and this thing is humming. So good to see Jay back in the mix with the guys running hard. And he's got his NASCAR up running really good. 1.489 is his best lap time. And I'll tell you what, nobody's even in the 1.4s here currently. Jay does take pride in the Fairview IT Cup cars here at Lanes Raceway, and he flat makes them hum, folks. As we got 4 red lights dropping out to green, we're going back green racing. And here we go. Let's kind of focus in here on Orange Lane. Through the dead man's corner, Jay Latham humming, baby. Did you see the coast he got off that thing? Track got shut off. He was in the high banks, coasted over 3/4 of the way to dead man's corner. Minute and 15 seconds left to go in this first heat. Been a lot of wrecks, a lot of trouble. Several cars having incidents. Like I said, Carson, a newcomer. Jackson, I think this is his second time running in this series, and it is a little overwhelming after you've run 2 GRC type series where they're a little bit slower. And these guys, that's what they run. They run GRC for the most part. Jay Latham dive bombing down low as he passes the guy on purple and on blue. Garrett, he just makes a nice clean pass up on the high side as Jay Latham sends a guy selling hard and heavy off a green lane. Puts that green lane right into dead man's corner. I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but man, it was brutal. As we got a guy on the button here to hit it. He sent Guillermo S there to the hard wall, and now we're going to see Guillermo, Paul Woosley, and another car get set back at the front of the start-finish line. The way the rules go, folks, if you come off, I don't care if you're the causer of the wreck or not, you go to the front of the start-finish line, basically losing a couple feet worth or a full lap if you wreck in the high banks. But nonetheless, you lose a little bit of time, and then we restart it. The controls all in the power of the racer. There's buttons at each one of the stations. They can kill their own track and restart it. Under normal circumstances, each racer that has a problem with their car, whether it be guide flag issue, whatever it may be, they have 30 seconds to work on their car. The guys kind of go into agreement, and we can kind of bypass that rule if we have extra time, which currently right now we was only supposed to start about 5 minutes ago, so we do have extra time. Only race coming up next is the GRC race. We should be able to finish that, or we might not even race it. If there's allotted time, we will. If not, we won't. But nonetheless, we got 2 of our GRC racers anyways in this race, so you know they're having a good time. 4 cars getting restarted at the start finish line as we go back green racing. Jay Latham now 3 laps ahead, and we get another track call, but I can't see why. As we see Glenn Burden rounding about the high banks portion of the track. I don't know why he picked up Carson's car there. Maybe it didn't even take off. I'm kind of confused on that. Carson was actually on purple, and he was actually in the slot there. I don't know why he got brought all the way back, but maybe the guys know something I don't know, as I was focusing on the laps turn there. Quite strange. Nonetheless, 3 cars getting reseated here. Jackson on black, Carson on purple, and Nathaniel on yellow. And we're back green racing, kind of focusing in on the newcomer Carson. We can see him down on purple, racing nice and clean to the car above him, Nathaniel Burden. And it's always good to see somebody that's new into a series not trying to dive bomb down low and push people to the outside. On average, it looks like we're making maybe 2 to 3 laps before we get called here. These guys having quite a bit of an issue keeping their cars on. Like I said, we just come right out of a race with the Ohio Valley Dirt Late Model Series, where it's quite a bit slower. Average lap time was definitely not 1.7. 1.7 was our fastest lap time in that series, and here our fastest lap time so far is in the 1.4s. So, you know, that's several tenths of a second faster. These cars are really hard to keep track of. So we see a nice pass down low by Jackson passing Carson. We get a car coming off there on red lane. Glenn Burton, he taps it back in as we keep rolling. This is the longest we've stayed green with 39 seconds left to go. Jay Latham's still out in the lead, 47 total laps, followed by Guillermo S. As you can see too, in the bottom right-hand portion of your screen, we have a orange track here at Lanes Raceway. Next week, October the 22nd, we'll be racing on said orange track, and we'll be live streaming that too for our wing car class and for our IndyCar class. All other classes are strictly oval only, but definitely stay tuned for that. As you can see, here is a better view of the orange track if you've never seen it. But the guys have a pretty good time on it. Have a little bit of rough time during the blip zone, which is right there by the end of the track where the people hook up. So pretty tough sometimes. So it looks like we're going back green racing. 4 red lights drop out to a green. Here we go. 4 cars that time getting restarted over. Like I said, and right from the bottom to the top, we sent 2 other cars here from from purple all the way up. Looks like purple and yellow involved in an incident there. So Nathaniel and Carson, I believe. Yep, Nathaniel and Carson getting put back on by Jackson. Is Jackson, no stranger to the racetrack for sure. Here yesterday working on his car in the GRC. He ended up bringing home a win earlier in the GRC series. He's wanting to step out his ability into faster races here. We can see several of the guys. And a car coming completely off the track looks to be either Glenn Burden or Guillermo S. coming off the track there. Or no, it was actually Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley came off the track there. "24 seconds left to go, and we'll be finally over with the first heat. Maybe the early stage jitters be gone out of these guys, and they'll be ready to come back and give each other a little bit of leeway. As I'm sure now their reflexes and stuff are pretty close. Looks like we got a tucked body there on red lane. But it looks like it fixed itself as he's going back live racing here, getting involved in another incident there. We get 2 cars involved in an incident up high there. Hard hits. Jay Latham still in the lead, 66 total laps, 4 laps difference from him to Guillermo S, but a 1.477, the fastest lap turn, Jay Latham so far. After 2 races of Jay having engine trouble, you know he's probably on cloud 9 to be able to throw this NASCAR out there, the Fairview IT Cup Series, and have some luck. 2 cars getting off the start-finish line yet again to cancel a lap. Nathaniel Burdens and Guillermo S. But we see, is that Glenn Burton rolling around there? Maybe Paul Woosley. Did Paul Woosley step out on this one? Yeah, it looks like Paul Woosley has retired his car. I don't know what's going on there, if it's broke, busted, or what's going on. Looks like he's retired his car, and he's going to track marshal for the guys. 4 seconds left to go. And Jay Latham's going to be bringing this one home. 74 laps, first heat. Congratulations to Jay for staying in the lead the whole race, or for the first heat. 69 laps for Guillermo S, 67 laps for Jackson Darty to round up your top three. Everybody else there still within fighting distance, other than possibly Nathaniel and Paul there. Only 30 laps after the first heat. It's going to be hard to bring that back up if everybody keeps a car in play. Gonna leave you guys here with the oval and be right back with you. You can guys watch these guys work hard on their cars in the meantime. All right, folks, a minute and 49 seconds. And Jay Latham still in the lead by 3 laps. Guillermo Sire there biting at the bit. He's in second place again. You know Guillermo's wanting that first place tonight. He's trying the best he can. Now he's running 1.4s. Jay going to the high side there, running 1.5s. Very impressive even still on a white lane. So we see Paul Woosley running 1.8s. He's back in the mix after this heat. So it looks like he might be working on his car a little bit to get that up and going. Minute and 48 seconds left to go. We'll see if the wrecks still ensue here. I'll be right back with you. All right, folks, I had to get me a little cola here real quick. Alicia Gaddis says, go Jay. Yeah, Jay's doing exceptional tonight, Alicia. And I'll tell you what, I'm happy for Jay after the bad luck he's had. Tonight has just been one of those nights that it's like a cloud's been over Lanes Raceway. Not to mention I'm getting older. You guys can tell my hair is turning gray. I'm currently stuck in a wormhole next to a black hole, and I'm aging by the day. By the end of October, I'm going to be an old, wrinkly man. And I need the kids, or my wife over here acting like she's got a cane out. She's not too worried about it. Her life ain't on the line, but mine is. So nonetheless, I got till the 28th to try to get back to reality. So I'm quantumly entangled with some lane stickers, and I've been handing them out to kids once a week because that's the only time that myself in this black hole can seem to breach this portal of reality back to where we're at now. Nonetheless, we've handed out a few to the kids. Whoever brings me 4 of those quantumly entangled signed stickers first on October the 28th is going to get a exceptional prize here in our Blast from the Past celebration. Just a fun little quirky take on what we're doing. We're going to have cotton candy. It's going to be a different atmosphere here at Lanes Raceway. We're probably going to live stream it all day. We're going to have the candy gauntlet on the tri-oval. We're going to have the new lock breaker on the orange track, which is similar to Candy Gauntlet, but with a little extra flair. We're going to have a free pinball competition with prizes given out. We're going to have some racing competitions with prizes given out. And we're also going to have like a zombie competition, a wave zombie competition VR with some prizes given out. Not to mention we're going to have some good 80s and 90s movies and stuff playing in the background. It's just going to be a fun little festive time to bring the family and kids and just have a good time. Something a little lighter hearted than Halloween. Halloween's a little bit grim and dark a lot of the time. So come on down here, have a good time with us. Like I said, it's going to be a pretty good time. Back to racing, though, Guillermo S got her within 1 lap to Jay Latham. Now, granted, guys, you got to understand from the point of view here of where they're located on the track. Jay Latham, of course, being on the white lane, has quite a bit more track length than what Guillermo does there on blue lane. So just cause Jay will get past most likely here, as he's already lost 5 laps just this heat alone, just because he'll get past on this heat doesn't mean that Jay's going to end up losing the whole race, because Jay will eventually get to run his blue lane too. So all you got to do is just basically keep your eyes out for that. And just know that Jay's running in the 1.4 second lap times. That's the most important thing. If you're running those competitive 1.4, 1.5 lap times and you don't wreck, you definitely have a chance to take home a victory here for sure. Problem I see most of the time is that the wrecks are so brutal and hard on these thin Lexan bodies that guys end up tucking their rear tires with their body. When it gets to that point, folks, once it does it one time, it kind of creases it, and it happens more and more and more and more. When it gets to that point, you're better off just cutting the whole rear section out of the car. As for tech, the body just has to be one of these NASCAR bodies. There's not really a height gauge necessarily. Now, I mean, if you bring it in here and you cut it all the way to the windows, I'm going to fail you. But if you're within like eyesight of everybody else and your car looks relatively the same, I don't have a height tool for this specific series. Just a width tool and a height tool for the bottom of the Flexi chassis. So, everything else is pretty much open. It's an Eagle motor they have to run, but the gear ratios they can choose, ball bearings, different guide flags, different sets of, braids and stuff like that. Minute and 5 seconds. I'll be right back with you. We'll find out what's going on with these guys.
rational and strong, and love was just a word in silly songs. But from that cursed day when you crossed my way, all my confidence was gone. I'm bewitched, bewildered, and utterly alone. And something's telling me it always will be you until the end of my days. And in my dreams I see how I finally find a way to show you how I long for your touch, knowing I'd be asking for much to get to have you in my arms, in my life, if only for a while. But something's telling me I am but a fool, 'cause that beautiful face will not ever be smiling at me, and you won't say all those little words I am longing to hear, those whispers at night, 'cause I fear some things are just never meant to be. Your love is not for me.
All right, folks, 23 seconds left to go. Had to take care of a customer real quick. And plus, I like to slap my gums at them a little bit, too, every once in a while, as I like talking to people about current events and what's going on here right now. But as you can see, 24 seconds left to go. Jay Latham holding off Guillermo there with 24 seconds left to go. Still hanging in there, holding down that first place. After this heat, he should be able to get a little bit of leeway there and see what happens. But as you can tell, been a pretty wreck fest for sure. 17 seconds left to go and a lot of wrecks. Almost one or two laps go by and then we're boom, right back in it with more and more wrecks. Now, you know, a lot of the times everybody says, well, I go to the races to see the wrecks. But there becomes a point of it being monotonous, I guess. And a lot of the times people get kind of fed up with that. But nonetheless, we got newcomers here. They're learning the ropes. Their cars are just a little bit fast beyond their skills currently, but they will get it down, folks. I do know this, that, you know, they're on the lower lanes. That's what they struggle with. So on those lower lanes, you know, once they get past those lower lanes and they're up into the upper lanes, a lot less wrecks are going to take place. That's not to mention that, you know, other racers on top of that also have some issues every once in a while, especially when they come from a slower race series like the Ohio Valley Lawn Care and jump right into a fast series like Fairview IT Cup. Both of these series are paid out series of $1,000, so you know they got a lot on the line running in these series. So we'll see how things shape up. Like I said, it's looking decent right now. 1 second left to go. They're going to end this up right now. I'm suffering right now with a lot of stink coming from next door. A lot of stink, boy. But hopefully that'll get fixed come tomorrow when she's at work. Of course, she's not at work right now, so it's kind of rough having to deal with it. A lot of people coming in thinking that someone's tooted several times. I'm just like, hey, it's just it's off gas from a dry toilet bowl next door. Anyways, 4 red lights are going to drop out, and it's the last few seconds here. We're going to go ahead and head over to the track mate here, So we get the auto delay to take place, and we can see Guillermo S now in the lead by 3 laps to Jay Latham. Man, just in the last lap or so, Jay must have had a couple wrecks take place there. We can see both these guys very, very close to each other. Just 2 laps difference between Jay and Guillermo there on blue. 1 lap difference between Jay and Guillermo from white and green. Action Jackson, man, what a surprise to see him as high up as he is right now. He got his car worked on a little bit by Guillermo Sire before the race. He's got her nice and freed up there. 72 laps total turned on yellow, 67 on black. We'll see how these guys fare out a little bit as we continue on, but Garrett and Glenn kind of battling each other a little bit. Carson, Nathaniel, and Paul all in the mix with one another too. As we continue on, Paul, you know, having those early on trolls, same as Nathaniel. I'll leave you over here with the oval. You can watch these guys work. We'll be right back with you. Enjoy that smooth jazz.
Oh, I hold you so close, I think you must feel my heart tremble. We're hand in hand, cheek to cheek, we're floating in midair. When you are near, spring is everywhere. We dance until the sun is down and stars are in your eyes. Spring is here, I feel it everywhere. You're so near and love is in the air.
All right, we're back. 1 minute and 57 seconds. How long can we go before another wreck ensues? Well, not long at all, as we see what looks to be Garrett and another car involved in the incident. Not to mention on the high banks here, we got 2 more cars, the Moose, Nathaniel Burden, and the red car of Guillermo Sire, our current leader. All of these guys heading to the front as we see Jay Latham. I think he might have narrowly escaped it there, but he's just right there at the line too. Just asked Jackson a while ago how he thought about Guillermo working on his car, and he's like, yep, he liked it. I said, well, you better thank him for working on your car. So he went out there and thanked him. And he's like, well, you need to go talk to Jay about how fast he's got his car. And I told him, I said, well, you know, you and Jay over there with your rivalries, you know, maybe go ask him. And Jay goes, you'll have to hold that question, because there was like 5 seconds left to go before they was fixing to go. Jackson always trying to find an edge, asking everybody and talking to everybody about what he should do with his car and trying to make it faster and stay on the track. But Jackson has everything he needs. He just needs to keep his car on the track is the biggest part of it. But really, you know, Carson, for his first time out, not doing too bad here. 1.730, not the slowest time that we've seen, not the fastest either, but for the first time in the NOS Fairview IT Cup car, not too bad at all. Garrett Burden there, midway of the field in his Apollo car. I'll tell you what, he's probably going to gain a few laps being there on Black Lane, going to be able to increase those laps turned. Glenn Burden there battling Carson Ross there on blue and yellow. Sticking to our current leader, though, there down on purple. The guys to watch is purple and red as we see a freed up car from Jay Latham. As the track got shut off, he literally made it all the way around Dead Man's Corner in one fell swoop with no track power. That's what it takes, people. A nice freed up car to be able to make it to the front. Jay Latham has it. And that baby is humming. 1.609 on red. He's actually beaten quite a few people down on the lower lanes with a median of 1.68. I'm seeing several 1.7s and 1.8s even. And, Jay's just got a car hooking up, ready to rumble. As we can see him actually reeling in the green car. Oh, as he gets involved in an incident, car sent to the outside there. But he was reeling in Paul Woosley right there before the start of that wreck, actually causing him to lose a lap now. But do you see how quick that happened? Like, who has reflexes to be able to stop a car in time? It's been said several times, but the guys keep loving the punishment of the Fairview IT Cup Series. They want a way to be able to race it, but I just don't know if the reflexes in humanity even exist to be able to stop a car in time. As for a full pack of Fairview IT Cup racers, these guys are hauling a mail, and it's all on a thin line for sure. Once you hear the sound, you better let off. With several of these cars rolling nice in a group here, something bad's fixing to happen. It always does. And boom, right there out of the gate. Looks like Jay Latham is the only one to catch that as he hits the NOS car of Carson Ross. Both of these guys going back to the front start finish line. Jay going to lose another lap here, but turning the best lap of 1.599 there in second place. He is still the guy to be talking about here, even though Guillermo S currently in the lead. Guillermo S running a nice crisp lap there, probably the fastest I've seen so far with a 1.398 down on purple. But I'll tell you what, neck to neck, side by side here, Jay and Guillermo. I would have to give it to Jay this race because his car is immaculate right now. Now, of course, Jay being up high, being able to even stay in the ballpark of second place is an achievement all unto itself, and we're seeing Jay Latham do that and do it well. Jackson, though, he's one lap down from Jay Latham there on orange, turning 27 laps, gaining 2 laps so far. Jay Latham, though, caught up in several incidents just this heat alone. Still a minute and 10 seconds left to go. Jay's just got to get through the dumpster lane. We can see Jay Latham there neck and neck with Paul Woosley on green coming around the high banks. See that NOS car head all the way down to the black lane, causing the Apollo car of Garrett Burden to come off also. Jay Latham there is going to grab both these cars and pass them down the line to get them on that start-finish line. Really something to be said about the smooth jazz. I'll tell you what, love it. Jamming out here in a little bit of a pause. Anyways, back to racing at hand. We'll turn that down for a bit. 4 red lights drop out to green. Here we go, folks. Jay Latham, Paul Woosley neck and neck up high. Paul Woosley wanting to try to gain just a little bit on Jay, but man, he has that thing. Bobby Pierce hung out red in the lane. Jay actually letting off this time to not cause a huge hit there, as we see a person reach down and grab that car as quick as they possibly can and hit that button. Garrett Burden getting the car of Garrett Burden put back on, and not to mention the car of Carson Ross, newcomer here in the NOS Fairview IT Cup car. All points. Oh, the NOS car got a little bit of a gentle boot going in the high bank, shot to the wall, collecting what looks to be Guillermo and the Apollo car of Garrett Burden. So starting to see a little bit of a trend here. Somebody might need to take a quick look at Carson's car to see if he's bent in the nose. He keeps coming out just from the gentlest of touches going into the high banks. But if they don't, they suffer the consequences of more wrecks. 47 seconds left to go. Guillermo Sire out in the lead, 192. Was able to turn 47 laps, almost 9 laps, or is 9 laps better than Jay Latham currently. That's a big suffering hit. Almost could make you feel down about it. But you got to understand, Guillermo's all the way at one end of the track at the bottom, where it's about 5 foot less than all the way at the top. So I know Jay knows this. He's just got to run his own line. And I think this race is going to be really, really close towards the end, especially if other people have such a rough red lane experience. And so far, just what I've been seeing, everybody has. And we're only in our third of 8 round robin heat race. It's a good thing we did start early. That's all I can say. And another hard hit there to the high side. I believe that's Guillermo Sire yet again as his car flies to the outside. Paul Woosley's car also going to get brought back to the front of the finish line there. And the black car, also known as the Apollo car of Garrett Burden, getting brought to the front start-finish line. So now we got us a little bit of a cluster, the bottom 5 cars basically, as we start back to this race. Keeping our eyes focused on Guillermo Sire down on Purple Lane, just trying to keep that baby in. He's humming, folks. 1.398, that thing is singing as he goes down low there on yellow, passing Carson. Carson was able to take that pass and not cause too much trouble. As he comes back up again to pass him on the outside, whoo, I don't know how in the world they made it through the high banks right there, but they did. Car coming flying completely off the track there as we get several to make a nice coast, including Carson Ross through the high banks. 12 seconds left to go in this heat, and these guys are going to get a much-needed rest to work on their cars. As these cars build up quite a bit of heat in the motors during these races here, you pretty much just got to put them on a cool-down block or put them in front of the air conditioner. You'll see several of the guys do that to cool these motors down. But I'll tell you what, all of it's much needed as these cars are flirting with disaster. Floating with disaster. Guillermo Sire down there on Purple Lane, your leader, hanging it in and hanging it out as he goes to make another pass on Carson Ross, and he does so. Carson makes a nice little blip there as we get not a red flag rotation. 1 second left to go. We're going to have a couple cars put back on the start-finish line here. Jay Latham able to save 10 laps, or only give up about 10 laps. That heat, running an impressive 1.582 on red lane. Next lane closest to him, Nathaniel Burden, 1.83, so you can see about 0.3 of a second faster there for a best lap. So he's run a very good red lane. Very interested to see how TrackMate shows some of the red lane action here. As we see Jay Latham walking away. 52 laps, 59 laps. 59 laps of Paul Woosley, the closest thing to Jay Latham, running 67 total laps. 68 on White. Not really a good comparison between Paul and Nathaniel. There's 30 and 8 when they've had trouble with their cars on those lanes. A lot of people are probably going to have some troubles on red and white, as we've seen quite a few wrecks here as the continuation of this race goes on. Nathaniel Burden there not having as much success as he did previously in the Ohio Valley Dirt Late Model Series, as he's down towards the bottom on this race. 3 laps down from Jay Latham there on orange. But we can see Jay and Guillermo's lap times are comparable by the height. So 69 laps for Guillermo on green would be very much compared to somewhere of an average between 74 and 68. So maybe a little bit low in comparison to Jay. Like I said, Jay Latham's car really screaming here tonight. 1 minute and 43 seconds left to go before we go back green race. I'm going to leave you guys over here yet again with the oval so you can watch these guys work on the car, and I'll be right back with you. All right, here we go, folks. 4 red lights dropping out to a green. We're going to go back green racing. I just heard Jay, man, rubbing salt into an open wound. Him next to Jackson now it even makes it better. As they were walking there next to me at the crook of the track, going out there checking on the guys, just taking a little bit of a break like you guys do. And I'll tell you what, he comes through there and he says, "You can't handle this speed. You can't handle this speed." And he's rubbing it in Jackson. I can tell that it kind of gets to Jackson a little bit. Jackson being there in third place, just a couple laps down, just freshly getting his car worked on by Guillermo Sire. Guillermo Sire also there. I was talking to him, both knowing that Jay has the fastest car currently right now, but Guillermo's not giving up without a fight. He's going to battle it and get and go as much as he can. Jay Latham taking a hard hit from behind from the Apollo car, Garrett Burden. It's hits like that, folks, that bend axles. So as we can see, Paul Woosley and the black car of Guillermo Sire taking advantage of that light. Can't say I blame them. As we can see, the blue car, Paul Woosley, doing it yet again. That is definitely the character of Paul Woosley for sure. Quite hilarious. Nonetheless, on the purple lane, Glenn Burden, yellow lane, Garrett, and on the green lane, Jay Latham getting their cars deducted a lap, essentially. We'll see how well Jay's car rolls after this, after he took such a hard, brutal hit in the high banks. Doesn't look like much has changed, so we're going to take a small little break here as I try to get this fixed here, where we have a timeout on the track, so bear with me. In the meantime, you can see Blast from the Past in the upper right-hand portion of your screen. Coming up October the 28th here at Lanes Raceway. Going to have a pretty good time then. Come join us. Guillermo Sire now currently in the lead, turning quite a few more laps. As I said, he's down low. He's going to be in the mix, turning 1.371. That is impressive. Most likely done off coast. Jay and Guillermo's cars both extremely fast right now. And we'll see who ends up prevailing here towards the end. Like I said, we still got a lot of racing left to go. Quite a bit of wrecking, I'm presuming, too, as we continue on. If you are on red lane like Nathaniel or white lane like Jackson, definitely if you hear a thud, you need to let off because more than likely that car is in your lane. But sometimes that goes in one ear and out the other. We see the Apollo car, Garrett Burden, coming off yet again. Looks to be Jay Latham's car coming off in the crook of the track there, right next to the NOS car of Carson Ross. As all these cars get brought back to the start-finish line for another restart. We are midway through, folks. Actually, 18 seconds to midway through. So it was a good thing we started early. It took about 47 minutes or so worth of time in this race. live stream doing well since the update, only dropping 120 frames this whole race long. Whereas previously, our very first race today, the GRC Oval, I dropped several frames, and I mean several, because of the update on Windows. Nonetheless, we have now been updated and restarted. 1 minute, 11 seconds left to go in this heat. We're going to push hard here. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to go hard, and everything's going to work out well here in this Fairview IT Cup race. I'll tell you, we're going to see 3 people get their picture made here tonight at Lanes Raceway, posted up live on our Facebook page. Not to mention that the updated point standings of the Grand Champion, not to mention all other 4 crowns, and the GRC will be updated within the next day or so. So as we see 4, 5, I don't know how many cars just getting busted up on the backstretch. A few of them wise enough to kind of blip the trigger a little bit and slow down enough to get through. But man, that looked like the wreck in Days of Thunder right there. Just hold it, go through, wide open, Cold Trickle style. That's these guys' mottos. They're going to hold it wide open and go through it. Guillermo Sire, right now currently your leader, 33 total laps. Jay Latham, 25 total laps turned. Glenn Burden down there in the middle, turning 29 laps, second best of everybody else in his current heat. With doing things like that, we're going to see Glenn Burden start making moves up high too, with a average of 1.52. He's in the mix, folks. Right now, that is the second best median. So Glenn Burden running a very, very impressive purple lane. If he can just keep out of the wrecks and not have to do his restart laps like this, we'll see that climb very, very quickly. Garrett Burden right there above him in 4th place, wanting to bout for Jackson on 3rd place, only 2 laps difference. All 3 of these guys battling for 3rd place. Four red lights drop out to green, and we're going to green racing it again. A pretty big cluster rocking and rolling. 1 minute left. We are now midway through this series race of the Fairview IT Cup Series. Guillermo Sire, 264 total laps midway through. To be expected somewhere around 500 or so laps as we get a car on its lid off the grid. There in the crook of the track, just narrowly missing Guillermo Sire on Black Lane. The number 3 Dale Earnhardt inspired car of Jackson in 3rd place also coming off as they both get their cars brought back to the front of the start-finish line. 46 seconds left to go in this heat. Best lap so far is a 1.371 by your current leader, Guillermo Sire. And second to that is Glenn Burden with a 1.469. Four red lights are dropping out to green, and we're going again, folks. Several wrecks this race, sometimes keeping it interesting, especially if some of the guys up top are involved in those races. We'll see some quick changes here to the leaderboards for sure. After this heat, something interesting is going to start taking place too, as we're going to see Jay Latham, our 2nd place, and Guillermo Sire side by side in the next heat. Definitely going to be something to look forward to watch, as we'll probably focus in more on the present in that next coming heat, as these 2 are battling out for 1st place. Right now, we're kind of all over the place, just talking about times, talking about where these guys are. A little bit of a battle pursuing here currently with Jackson and Garrett. We see Jackson right now on white lane, followed by Garrett there on yellow lane, just entering into Dead Man's Corner. But right now, we're going to see a change in 3rd place leadership, as we'll see Jackson go to the start-finish line right behind Garrett. Garrett, of course, being down lower than him, is going to swap up 3rd place. Not to mention, if Jackson don't play his cards right and keep ahead of Glenn Burden, he's right there nipping on the toes, turning 47 total laps so far to his 38. We see Garrett there in third place now. We get two more cars to the outside wall yet again. One of those cars is Glenn Burden. Definitely not something he would want to see. But currently, right now, turning 9 more laps on Jackson just this heat alone. The higher portion of the lap, definitely not a strong suit for Jackson as of yet. But he's still learning the car, and I think he's doing quite well to be mid-pack, just starting out in a faster car series. It's to be saying something. You know, you don't start out in Formula 3, jump to Formula 1, and expect to win the championship. But you do expect to progress always, and I think Jackson is a staple of that, especially for young fellas getting in it. We see a little bit of frustration there by Jackson as he throws his hands up yet again coming off of the track. We'll see if he can get his resolve back during the break here. Only a few more seconds left to go in the heat. Guillermo S getting his car and Jackson and Jay put back up there at the start finish. 4 red lights drop out to green. 15 seconds left to go. Can we make it to the end without a wreck? Here's hoping. Keep your fingers crossed. Here we go. Big cluster, and nobody's hitting the track. It's quite crazy. A car all the way to the outside, up high. That car just got picked up. I'm kind of curious whose that is, really. Has nobody hit the track button on that? So it was Nathaniel Burden's. So he just kind of left his car up there in red lane. Kind of Nathaniel, actually, means he was in red lane. He was kind of out of everybody's way. He was just wanting the heat to be over, maybe to let his car cool down and get back out there for another stab at it. All these guys hungry to advance, but at the same time, calm and courteous to one another as we produce even more distinguished racers here. We can see 78-78 of Guillermo S there. Just, not really a lot to be comparing to other than maybe Jay. But we see Guillermo taking a 69 lapper to Jay's 63 there on green. So first a little bit to compare to. Now we're going to see Jay Latham get his stab at the bottom 4 as they're going to both be neck and neck, side by side this next heat, folks. So definitely watch out for that, as we'll see that Guillermo S is going to jump up to yellow, and we're going to see Jay Latham jump down to blue. So Jay Latham going to be doing his bottom 4, and we're going to see Guillermo move into his top 4. So the point at this that I'm making is, can Jay make up that 25 or so laps needed to be able to catch back up with Guillermo in these next 4 heats? He's going to have to make a shot at it. He's got 3 heats to do it in, essentially, and I think that's where he lost his laps to Guillermo, was in those 3 heats. So as long as everything's on the up and up and his car's not bent or tore up, it's going to boil down to the wire here, folks, and I'm excited to see how it's going to end up. Like I said, somewhat of a Cinderella story here for Jay Latham tonight. A messed up, blown up Hawk 7 motor, and then right into another series where he had a blown up stomp motor for the Ohio Valley Dirt Late model, and had to do 2 motor swaps today. And then boom, did he get right into the mix here and biting at the bit for the Fairview IT Cup. Something he's used to, something he's known for here at Lanes Raceway. See him back in the mix here. Let's see if he can get those 25 laps. I'd much like to see Jay Latham in the number 1 spot. I don't know about you. And I'd like to see Guillermo there too. But nonetheless, hard fought, hard situation for Jay to come out on top would be great. 42 seconds left to go. We'll be right back with you. All right, here we go, folks. 4 red lights going to drop out to green, and we're going back racing. So we can see right out of the gate there, Jay Latham turning a 1.454, tied up right next to a 1.424, just a little bit lower Guillermo Sire. It looks like, I don't know if there was any contact to be made between Guillermo and Jay, but it looks like Jay's going to get himself set back to blue lane in front of the start-finish line. Also, Jackson Darty. Nonetheless, if I was Jay in this position here, I'd kind of calm her down just a little bit, get up close to Guillermo, and just pretty much lay the pressure on as thick as I could. As essentially, we've seen quite a few wrecks here. Every time those wrecks are made, there's a chance that your car can coast just in front of the other car. And I think this would play to Jay's advantage here, is if he gets really, really close, when that happens, he'll be able to get that free lap and not have to worry about getting sent to the outside wall, because Guillermo Sire's not going to make it easy on him. Guillermo Sire is just a fierce competitor, just like Jay. And if I was in Guillermo's shoes trying to hold Jay off for the next 4 heats, something I would definitely do would be put him into the wall, especially as close as these two are running. So nonetheless, I would just kind of bide my time, as he's only got to make up 25 laps here. And essentially what you just got to do is get that coast that you really, really need here. Jay Latham's running really, really good here. Keeping it within 2 to 3 laps as we see several cars coming off. This is beneficial for Jay. 3 cars from a full Jay, actually. But of those cars that came off out of the 5 people, Jay Latham and Guillermo are both those cars. So this is essentially not what Guillermo wants to see, because now that ties him back down with Jay Latham. And there's only 3 laps difference between the two. This will be legitimately the last heat that Guillermo is lower than Jay Latham. From this point forward, moving on, Guillermo will be moving to the higher portion of the track. Now, one would argue that, right out of the gate, there was a whole lot more wrecking going on, and there was. So people maybe come into their nerves here and not wrecking quite as much. It's detrimental for Jay, but it really, his car is just a little bit quicker than Guillermo's. Not much. Not enough that a wreck isn't more substantial than the speed. So it's going to boil down to a lot here. I guess everybody wrecked, it looks like, except for 2. So as we get a car flying to the outside right off the gate right there, somebody must have lost track of their car. And I believe that was Guillermo Sire there. So he sent that baby flying, folks. And he's going to lose a lap there. Now Jay bringing it within 2 laps here. So he's, doing what he needs to do here for sure, holding it off. So it's very interesting. Really, he doesn't want to lose any laps here as he gets sent to the wall. 3, 4 cars get sent to the wall. What a coast by Jay Latham. You've seen the difference there on the backstretch, where that they were kind of coasting together with each other. But then right there towards the end, it was like Jay just got some of that freedom roll there and gained another 5 or 6 car lengths there. So this will be a fast time for Jay Latham for sure. But Guillermo Sire, his median, the best out of everybody there right now, 1.45, 0.05 of a second difference between Jay Latham. Glenn Burden, 0.07 of a second difference. Glenn Burden running a very impressive best lap of 1.444, the second best here currently right now. So all 3 of these guys battling it out. Only 10 laps separate Glenn Burden from Jay Latham, as Glenn Burden's down low right now. And he will be on yellow coming up next, then finishing out on white lane, I believe. White or red. All right, I was about to say, I don't know what we're waiting on here, but nonetheless, here we roll. 4 red lights drop out to green, and we're hauling. Jay Latham up on blue, holding it down. as we get a full speed come apart. That car right there just took off flying, folks. Guillermo Sire getting moved back just a little so he can make it over the start-finish line. Paul Woosley's car down there on purple lane coming completely off. Should have been stuck back at the start-finish line, but not a big deal, being that Paul Woosley not in the points for this series. He's just kind of coming out here racing with the fellas. So Jackson Darty getting put back on red, Glenn Burden on black, and what looks to be the old Apollo car of Garrett Burden getting put back on orange. And here we go, folks. 4 red lights dropping out to a green, and we're over the halfway mark now. And a car to the outside. That is the number 3 car of Jackson Darty. I thought he came out there. I don't guess he did. Nonetheless, another car there did come out, and it's going to get put back on the start-finish line. Carson Ross, almost maybe trying to make a dive bomb. Who knows? But we can see our current leaders here. Guillermo Sire down there on yellow, just right underneath Jay there on blue lane as they go to roundabout Dead Man's Corner. Jay Latham holding off. Oh, down low, sending Jay to the outside wall. Probably would have been a better idea to go ahead and blip and let that happen. It's just like I was telling you earlier, Guillermo Sire has no option but to be aggressive here currently to fend off Jay Latham as he sends Jay Latham straight to the wall, and I mean hard, folks. 338 total laps right now. Guillermo Sire holding off into the lead. 306 of Jay Latham, 34 turned laps here on blue. But Jay Latham's car is still fast as ever. Kind of blows your mind how that is. And it looks down there on purple lane. Paul Woosley's car about to smoke, it looks like. It's just slowing down, folks. The car there on yellow. Oh, and a nice good blip there done by Jay Latham there. That was probably a wise decision to make that. As he does know that Guillermo was not going to let off. Both of them best times within 0.04 of a second of each other. Guillermo Sire and Jay Latham. And I'll tell you what, the medians are not too far apart. Only about 1/10 of a second, half of a tenth of a second. So 0.04 or 0.05 of a second difference. All boiling down mainly to wrecks here, essentially. So it looks like possibly, I don't know if Jay Latham got started at the start-finish line or not, or if that's just where his car ended up in. 4 laps down, lost here so far for Jay Latham to Guillermo Sire's. Of course, Guillermo Sire moving to the outside. 2 cars, one on the lid, the old Apollo car of Garrett Burden. Probably the most entertaining wreck of the night as that baby slid on its lid from the exit of Dead Man's Corner all the way down to the high banks. Something to see there for sure. Garrett's just going to slap his car back on real quick. Nobody's seen that. 25 seconds left to go in this heat. 366 to 333, about 30 laps or so down from Guillermo Sire is Jay Latham. Jay Latham's going to have a hope and a prayer after this, losing a little bit too many laps for his current position where he's located. But what a beautiful coast he has after every single time. Lovely, beautiful coast. Paul Woosley there and Guillermo and another car I wasn't able to see there, all going to be brought back to the front of the start-finish line. This is going to make Jay only lose about 4 laps this heat. Glenn Burden turning 71, Jay Latham turning 71. There may be a battle in between these two before it's all said and done. Who knows? Between first, second, and third here. 5 laps down from Glenn Burden. Garrett Burden putting on a show in the old Apollo Creed, or Apollo 1 car. Apollo Creed, that's a boxer. Apollo 1 is, a rocket ship. His car looks like a rocket ship. It doesn't look like a boxer. Looks like the surface of the moon, folks. My wife's laughing at me. I get my mind and my thoughts crossed up here. Quad Zero is going to show to a lane rotation. Guillermo S is going to still hang on to that lead, turning 381 total laps. We get a tie up on blue lane, 76-76. So Jay Latham definitely still in the mix here, but that green lane really hurt Jay. 63, losing 6 laps there. So we'll see. It really just boils down to how many laps can Guillermo turn on white and red and orange versus how many Jay can turn down low. Jay has a better opportunity to turn a little bit more laps, but really Guillermo didn't leave him much leeway there, turning 80 laps. Currently right now the most laps turned on yellow. It's going to be tough to beat that. If he does, it's only going to be by a lap or so. He's got quite a few laps to make up here. We'll just have to see how things shape out to be, but definitely Jay's going to need Guillermo to have a horrible red and white lane. But on that note, I'm going to leave you over here with the oval. You can watch these guys work, both Jay, Guillermo, Paul, Jackson, Carson, all these guys. Watch them work, and we'll be right back with you here in about a minute and 40 seconds. All right, folks, here we go. 4 red lights dropping out to green. Guillermo talking to his young protege there, Action Jackson, coming up in here telling me he's getting rammed on red lane. Cracking me up, folks. Jackson, he has always got something funny to say. Surprisingly, not a huge, hard crash there to take place there. We now see Jay Latham down low there on purple lane, needing to make up some of those laps and turn some good quick times here. And that was Jay Latham's car that came off. So his car may be bent a little bit. I know when we first started, that baby was smooth as ice, and he was handling that thing like a dream. Now it looks like he's letting off a little too early there on purple, but maybe he's just being modest, trying his best to keep his car on here. As he comes into traffic here with Glenn Burden, he's going to have to make a pass. Glenn Burden lets him go by, but then for some reason or other, Glenn Burden gasses back on the backside of Dead Man's Corner, getting touched a little bit by Jay Latham's car on the exit. I don't think any of that was intentional, but yet most likely surprising, to say the least. As usually you don't see someone on the higher side catch someone coming out of the exit of a turn. Unlike real racing, when you run a high side, usually that's whenever the high side actually catches back up with the low side. So, I don't know. Maybe it was just one of those fair flukes there. Nonetheless, we're back green racing down low below Jay Latham on black lane. Paul Woosley really dive-bombed it in there, trying to push Jay along and make that pace a little bit more stiff. as they both go around the dead man's corner here. Almost both of their cars looking identical with one another. Jay Latham reeling in that yellow lane yet again of Glenn Burden. Will the same thing happen? Well, Jay Latham actually brake checks and sends Glenn Burden to the wall yet again. And what a beautiful coast that Jay Latham had. I almost think this was just a mixed communication yet again. Both of them wanting to let off and let each other by, and both of them just ended up getting in each other's way there. So we seen Jay Latham and Glenn Burden getting in each other's way. Kind of a sad situation, especially whenever Glenn was trying to be kind, just like Jay. Sometimes it works out that way, you know. You get up into this upper portion of racing like this, and these guys are trying to make moves in, you know, a hair of a second. And sometimes mental waves get crossed, and they ended up getting wobbled up into each other a little bit. But it had to be done, I suppose. Jay Latham there definitely running for first position here as he's trying to pass that orange car of Guillermo Sire as many times as he possibly can. Right now, one lap down from Guillermo Sire from that one wreck that he had and got resetted. Guillermo Sire running impeccably there up on the orange lane, not yet involved in an incident. And that's definitely saving Guillermo Sire from losing any laps from Jay Latham down low. Jay Latham currently turning a 1.466 on purple. Very fast, very competitive time there. Actually, the fastest so far, 1.487 though, over best lap time of Guillermo Sire. And you can see the medians right there, just 1/100th of a second apart. This is not going to be enough for Jay to make it. He needs Guillermo Sire to wreck for him to take that first position. But you know what? Guillermo's definitely putting in a fight. He got the luck of the draw where he started in the race. He didn't start up high, having to deal with all the trash. And as you can tell, there's a whole lot less wrecks taking place than we've previously seen, as everybody's kind of getting warmed up and kind of understanding how these cars drive. Now, as for the fastest car and the smoothest car tonight, I definitely would have to give that to Jay Latham. As every time the track gets shut off, he's gaining several car lengths here. But not by much, as Guillermo Sire, he's also got a smooth operating mobile there in the high bank corner of the orange track there, or on the orange lane. Just good competition between these two. When it gets to nitpicking as close as I am right now, you know these guys are battling with everything they got, and I love to see it. Jay Latham right now 34 laps down from Guillermo and just cannot seem to gain any laps. As Jay Latham makes a risky move, and it pays off, folks. Guillermo Sire definitely going to lose a lap here. Actually, he's going to lose right at 2 because Jay made the risk and drove through it just like Cole Trickle. So now he's ahead on lap count this heat. But he's going to have to do better than that, folks. He's going to have to do a lot better than that. Like I said, Guillermo's going to need to wreck quite a few more times here, folks. I mean, what I'm saying about Jay Latham, the same could be said for Glenn next to Jay. And the same thing could be said for Jackson next to Glenn. So we got this kind of equal sparsity between all of these guys, and it being so sparse is like they're not gaining any laps on each other when they're down low, because there's such fierce competition from the guys up high that these are the issues that we're facing. So it's going to be a hard row for Jay to be able to find it. But man, I'll tell you what, when you get it, you get it. Guillermo couldn't get it in the previous race, in the dirt oval race, but man, he's getting it now, folks. And it looks like as long as everything goes the way it's going, Guillermo's going to take home a first place tonight here. But not to let Jay off slack for sure. He has definitely put up a race. Jay Latham leading the pack here on Purple Lane as he comes off, ladies and gentlemen. Not what you want to see for Jay. And he sends her to the outside. All that progress that he got just previously driving hard like Cole Trickle through the high banks, narrowly missing Guillermo Sire, lost in a moment's notice for getting back in the accelerator just a hair too quick in Dead Man's Corner. Jay Latham coming up on that traffic yet again on yellow lane. Glenn Burden, the guy right below him. Glenn Burden actually got a nice good coast there through Dead Man's Corner right then. 2/3 of the way through, folks. 2/3 of the way through. Jay Latham and Guillermo S running 72 laps apiece. The median 1.52, 1.52. And literally their times are 0.04 of a second different for their best lap time. Three cars involved in an incident. This is something that Jay definitely wanted to see, as 1 second left to go in this heat. And we're seeing Carson, Guillermo, and another car that I didn't get eyes on. Looks like the Moose car of Nathaniel Burden getting started back at the start finish line. So all that hard work Jay got, he just got it right back yet again. But that could have netted him 4 laps total this heat instead of just 2. So 1 second left to go. We're going to see the end of a round robin 6 of 8. If he only gains 2 laps per heat, that's 6 laps. He needs 20 something. So he's going to need a lot more wrecks to take place, and Guillermo being involved in them to be able to gain such a deficit. So we head over to the track mate. We can see just how well Jay done. And yet again, another tie, folks, 78 laps. But what did Guillermo do? And we can see that Guillermo was able to do a little better up high than Jay Latham. 69 total laps there on green lane to Jay's 63. So, you know, Jay's going to take a couple hits. Like I said, these next 2 heats here, it's going to be brutal. I'll leave you with the oval. We'll be right back with you. Watch these guys work. That's hilarious.
It is. I was like, oh.
Currently sitting here right now with Garrett. Garrett, if you guys don't know, he's out of the race, folks. He's got a bent axle. He come in here to get a bent axle. We're just kind of talking like back in the Halo days. Like when I was a kid, we get done with a match, we would talk about our previous match and how good or how bad we did and certain things. Well, Garrett's giving me a breakdown of all the stuff that's going on out there with Guillermo, Jay, newcomer Carson out here in the series and stuff, and all the complete debacle and stuff that goes on out there as you are a racer. Nonetheless, I've caught quite a few of the things that's been going on out there that he's mentioned, and it's funny. Like, you guys know it too. You watch this race. You see these guys battling back and forth. Early on, it was nothing but a crapshoot whether or not you were going to make it through Dead Man's Corner. Now you can tell the big difference here that, you know, we see a wreck every once in a while, maybe every 15, 20 seconds. When we were first starting, it was a wreck every 3 seconds, wasn't it, Garrett?
It was bad.
So, you know, here Guillermo is. Like I said, he's going to be finishing somewhere around a little over 500 laps, and here we are right now. He's already about to hit the 500 mark, and we still got another heat even after this. So, you know, Jay Latham there giving it his best to try to get those laps down low, but what he really needed is something he's probably not going to get because the nerves of everybody are in line now, so they're able to run their race. The thing that Jay needs is Jay needs Guillermo to wreck a lot. He needs to get involved in these up high wrecks, and it's just not going to happen because everybody's now got their rhythm down, and they've knocked their jitters off from the Ohio Valley Dirt Late Model Series. So, you know, starting position is very important. Something that I've thrown around quite a few times here at Lanes Raceway is, should we qualify when we get this many people in a race? Because positioning starting off is so important. Where would you start? Would you start on green? Would you start on yellow? Both of these positions would be early on like good strategic plays of whether or not you should start there. You know, you would start green to go ahead and do your low lanes first, or you would start yellow to go ahead through the middle and do your high lanes first. But it's all, it's at the end of it, it's a gamble really where you should start. Some races start off perfectly great, then people get tired and wreck like crazy. But then there's other races that start and people wreck like crazy, and then they end up good like we're seeing here now. We see Guillermo Sire, everybody cracking up as Guillermo Sire rolls all the way around the track and knocks a car off with the button press. So pretty interesting thing to happen here around Robin 7 of 8, 17 seconds left to go. If you're watching this, go ahead and clip that. Go back and clip it. It'll be pretty cool for everybody to see and click on. 1 second, I'll be right back with you. I gotta go talk to the racers. That's funny, folks. So they called me out there for that incident that just got done taking place, where the car rolled all the way around and hit Paul Woosley's car. And they said, well, what do we do with it? I said, you put it at the start-finish line. That's what the rules state. That's what's going to happen. And then I brought up where Paul thought he was clever and he hurried up and stuck his car on that one time. And he thought nobody was watching. Well, I'm in here watching, folks. So, you know, it's just a little bit of payback. You reap what you sow, folks. And, you know, Paul Woosley ended up having to pay for it right there. And it's kind of funny, too, just to see it happen out there for everybody to get a good kick and a laugh out of it. There it is, folks. Guillermo S out in the lead right now by 23 total laps. Jay was able to catch one lap on Guillermo there on Black Lane. But where it's really done is there on the upper lanes with Guillermo, not getting involved in wrecks and stuff like that. So Guillermo was able to gain an extra 3 laps, where Jay was caught up in quite a few laps early on in this race. You guys were here. We had to struggle through it. It was quite tough. But nonetheless, about as good of a showing as Jay could do as he continues on here. It'd be interesting if he can just get 81 laps. We've seen this before. You know, Jay's put on such a show here today. If he gets 81 laps on yellow, he'll have the most laps turned in the NASCAR series, and a record broke here for this year, or for this season. And then both of them get a little bit of taste of something good out of this series race. Nonetheless, Guillermo is out in the lead right now. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go. We'll be right back with you. All right, folks, 5 seconds. We're dialing her down and dialing it up when it comes to intensity. The final round robin 8 of 8 here at Lanes Raceway for tonight, ending the Fairview IT Cup Series here October the 15th, this Sunday. So, you know, this is it for this week, folks. You'll have to come back next week to get more action like this. But nonetheless, like, subscribe, and share to everybody that you know that loves slot car racing or racing in general, and have them come by and say some things and have a pretty good time, you know, chit-chatting like you can see here. We do have a chat that is currently live on YouTube. Not too many people on YouTube watch us, but, you know, I'm happy for the people we do got. I think we got like 76 subscribers, something like that. That's good. I like it. We got quite a few on Facebook. Right now, Facebook's being kind of weird when it comes to messaging. So if you try to get through Facebook and try to get some messages across hoping that I see it, I ain't. And same thing with Twitch. Twitch is being very irritable here lately also. But nonetheless, we got, if you want to chat, we chat through YouTube for the foreseeable future, it looks like. About 1 minute and 26 seconds left to go. Guillermo S holding it off out here, folks. Jay, though, getting 2 laps already here. 1.463 is his best lap, and, you know, it's by quite a good margin there. Him and Nathaniel both in the 1.4s. So both these cars really hauling the mail here. But, you know, sometimes that's how it works out. Jay Latham held the lead for several heats until that crossover took place. Guillermo kind of took it back from Jay Latham and never gave it back since. Here towards the end of the race here, everybody's kind of getting in a good mode, not wrecking every single lap. They're wrecking maybe every 10 or 20 laps. And when that happens, you know, it's just the luck of the draw. Sometimes it's one way, sometimes it's the other. And it just so happens that this day, We got all our wrecking out at the very beginning, and the guys started straightening up and doing good towards the end. But I have seen it the other way. Started out great at the beginning. We're flying through, make it through about the 5th heat, and it ain't nothing but pure debacle. Who can tell? Who knows? And that's why I say we kind of tossed around the idea of doing qualifying. But what at the end of the day, what does it matter when you all run 8 lanes anyway? You just got to run your lane the best that you can possibly run it, and it doesn't matter where you start because everybody has to run that lane. So just make sure and brake and don't come off. It's hard to do in these faster cars like this. Turn in lap times of 1.4 seconds. When it's optimal for people that actually have worked their reflexes, hand-eye coordination, that it takes them right at a quarter of a second to react. So, you're looking at 0.25 of a second. So that's two, I don't know, I'm not good at math, but nonetheless, you get what I'm saying. It's hard for people to react so quickly whenever these cars are going around a full track and those kind of speeds. Back to the big oval, though, to finish up our last minute here on the Fairview IT Cup Series race. We see Jay Latham actually making some leeway here. 43 laps to the 39, gaining 4 or 5 laps here on Guillermo on yellow to his red lane. But it's just a little bit too late because nobody's wrecking on red anymore. As we see Guillermo getting involved in a wreck right there. But I believe also Jay Latham coming off there on yellow lane. So nothing to be benefited there, as both of them are to be taken back to the start-finish line of the track. But Jay giving it everything he can with a 1.463 best lap time, the best out there currently right now. Everybody else at 1.5, 1.6. Nathaniel there, of course, with a 1.491 down on black lane and a 1.55 median. 4 red lights drop out to green. We're going back racing, and like I said, Jay's really put on a show here today to come back from such horrible states in the first 2 series races this weekend, to come back and put on a show for us here, fighting from second place to try to get into that lead. Just not able to make it happen. It doesn't look like with 32 seconds left to go. Jay still in high spirits, taking home a second place. That'll be 95 points, folks. Glenn Burden looking like he's pretty much solidified third place down two with 528. Jackson there with 505, going to take fourth most likely, but it's still up in the air. But really it isn't, as Paul Woosley is not currently in the series. Carson 482, Nathaniel Burden 401, and then of course Garrett Burden out for the remainder of the race. As we see that car flying to the high side portion of the track yet again. That is Carson. I got people in here right now, ladies and gentlemen, they're asking why my hair is gray, why I'm older. I'm trying to explain to them I'm in a black hole. I need your help to get me out. Don't forget, October the 28th, Blast from the Past. Bring those 4 stickers. Bring me back from a black hole. Don't let me die here. Get me out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Get me out of here. 9 seconds left to go. Guillermo Sire in the lead, 589 laps. Jay putting up a battle, gaining 8 laps so far, just this heat alone. If this could have happened for the past 3 heats, we might be talking something here, because that would have been right at 24, 25 laps. But nonetheless, he wasn't able to make that happen until this heat alone. Nonetheless, here we are, folks. Here's my gray hair. I'm getting older, believe it or not. I've been asked, why did you do it like that? Why didn't the black hole done it? I don't know. 1 second left to go here. Like I said, Blast from the Past. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you here before we go. Blast from the Past, October the 28th. Be here. Bring me back. Bring me back from the black hole. 4 stickers. That's all it's required. Every Sunday we give out a new sticker all the way up till the 28th. And that's it. Guillermo Sire, your winner for this week, October the 15th, Fairview IT Cup Series race. 594 laps and 580 laps of Jay Latham. 5 laps difference from his yellow lane to Guillermo Sire's. He wasn't able to turn that 80 that he wanted, but nonetheless, he still gained 6 laps there on Jay. Guillermo only able to turn 66 laps on red with a whole lot less wrecks taking place. Third place, Glenn Burden with 548. That's your top 3. Guillermo, Jay, and Glenn, if you don't mind, please go to the podium for your pictures. All right, folks, on that note, thank you for tuning in here for the Fairview IT Cup Series race here October the 15th. We'll be uploading this to the series for the Fairview IT Cup Series, a part of the 4 Crown Grand Championship. All those points will also be added to that, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless you. This is Donnie. I'll see you next week.